Hey there, it's Chad and Leslie from Magic 1077. And if you want real sports updates, keep it here on the Beat of Sports.
Chad, I give real sports updates.
No, you don't, Leslie. Nobody likes your sports updates. You don't even know your sports updates.
Happy Thursday, boys and girls. Welcome to the Beat of Sports. Marc Daniels over here. Chris Vasquez is over there.
Hello.
No random Cardinals-Titans 425 game,
you
October 5th.
You mentioned Titans. We got Jets-Titans week 1, 1 o'clock.
So Chris is going to be just dropping routine NFL schedule leaks.
Oh, Jets-Titans. That's so. I feel bad.
Stop it!
Who's got to call that game? That's a disgusting
Stop
game.
it! He had a schedule grid in his computer.
What?
He follows, and I know you're following, the one guy that this is what he does. He just sits and updates a schedule grid as games leak when the NFL schedule releases tonight. But Chris is so obsessed, he's like, man.
At Nerding on NFL on X. Bears-Vikings week 18.
Stop it!
No time for that game yet.
I mean, it's one thing if you got like the prime time schedule and there's a big Sunday night game. He's got 1 o'clock kicks in mid-September that he's breaking down.
We got a week 13 Sunday night football game, Texans-Steelers.
And once again, if you hadn't heard, who's the football team up in Jacksonville?
The Jaguars.
He says Jaguars.
So?
That's not how you say it.
You're a stickler for pronunciation, aren't you? Jaguars. Jaguars.
Is that hard?
Jaguars.
It's not Jaguars. Not Jaguars.
Go watch the Jaguars.
By the way, I again, thank you for the lovely gifts that you brought me yesterday, my birthday.
Of course.
Grapes are in the fridge. Had some yesterday after my run. I still can't, after my walks, since I still can't run. And we had and then your giant pin and glass is not in its final place.
Okay.
But it's on a table in the main TV room.
Ooh.
It'll work its way to an office area. But,
nice.
You know, it's nice, and I appreciate it very much.
Mm-hmm.
We had the kids, my daughters, and my son-in-law and son-in-law to be. They came over for dinner. Nothing's easy.
Never is.
I said to my wife when she goes, we can go out Wednesday, your birthday. I goes, no, I'll bring food in. I'm not going out to spend $600 on dinner. Got a wedding that we're paying for. And all I said was, hey, I can go by such and such Italian restaurant. I'll pick up some food. Mm-hmm. Well, so-and-so may want this. And we met. All I did, Chris, I came back from my workout. I jumped in the shower. I get out. Unbeknownst to me, there's a text chain going on with everybody about, what food and so forth. Yeah. It's not that hard. And you know what's in my house today? 80% of the food that nobody ate last night.
You didn't want to bring any in?
No, it just, it's fine. It was good. And I appreciate it. Some nice gifts and everything.
Nice.
Yeah. But you know what my wife did, which she now picks up on?
Uh-oh.
No, she bought a bunch of cards.
Oh, nice.
Right? And she bought cards because she knows, my kids don't bring us cards.
Right.
Yeah. Father's Day, birthdays, they don't get their mother or I cards, which is fine. It's all good. But we had a nice time. It was good. And kids left like 8:15 or so.
So I know your thing with cards, but before, when your daughters would get you cards, would you throw the card away in front of them or would you wait for them to leave?
Oh, no, not in front of them.
Okay.
Yeah. No, not in front of them.
Would they ever like come back to the house? Daddy, where's the card I got you?
Oh, yeah. We put it away. Yeah. I told you yesterday, though, about, when your precious daughter begins to go to school and she comes home with that piece of artwork and she wants you to hang it on the refrigerator, I always had a problem with that. Dad, we hang this on the refrigerator. What is it? It's a flower. Really? You think that's a flower, huh? What are we doing in our class when, in preschool here? What are we doing? Yeah. Yeah, it's a fire truck. Hate to break it to you, fire truck doesn't have 35 wheels. You know? Yeah, it's a giraffe. Really? We're going to the zoo. You tell me what the giraffe looks like that. Okay, I'm not hanging this stuff on the refrigerator. You got people coming over.
Wow.
Well, what is that? Yeah.
You're a tough critic,
Tough.
even of like a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Parent-teacher conference. I mean, I was paying big money at a private school. Like, hey, what are we doing here? What kind of artwork we got going on here? Does this look like a fire truck to you?
were you really like
What
that?
are you doing? Are you taking the hour off when the kids need some help here?
Were you really like that?
No.
Oh, that would have been
No.
great.
I used to joke about my wife all the time, though. She'd be like, "Oh, look at that," and I look on the refrigerator. I'm like, "I don't know what it is." And it's kind of like those, you know, the artwork where you have to look at it a certain way to see, like,
Yeah.
oh, like I look and she goes, "What do you mean you don't know what it is?" I go, "What is it?" She'd be like, "Oh, it's a pretty garden." No, it's not. It's like paint blotches. You better tell that you love it, Daddy. It's beautiful, sweetheart. Absolutely gorgeous. Then she'd walk away and I'd look at it for like 30 seconds and try to see if I can find something. Like nothing there.
Wow.
A couple of listener emails you got coming up?
We do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Potential marriage not happening in one of them, which we'll get to. Keith Smith is with us today. Keith was busy yesterday, but he's going to talk basketball with us today. We have the Cavaliers winning on the road last night as Detroit up by 9 with 2 to go in that game, lost in overtime, and 3-2 in that series. We'll talk to Keith about everything happening in the NBA. Cam Mellor, always good to talk football. We'll chat with him, among things. History lesson coming up on the program as well. But first, here's everybody's favorite segment.
It's almost like an unwritten rule that when you become a father, you become king of the bad dad jokes.
What is Forrest Gump's password? 1 Forrest 1.
Are you ready to laugh? We know at least one person is. Here's CB's dad joke of the day.
Oh, that's so great.
All right. I got one. I think you'll get it. And if you get it, I don't want to tell it. But I have a backup just in case. What rock group has 4 guys that don't sing?
I don't know, Chris. What rock group has 4 guys that don't sing?
It's your favorite landmark. Mount Rushmore. Getting Mount Rushmore is a rock group.
Just remarkable. Just remarkable.
Hey, what's up? This is Pat Lynch.
And I'm talking about you're not rocking out with WJRR.
Lock it in here with Marc Daniels and the beat of sports.
Mark, set your calendar. Week 8, Raiders at Jets, 1 o'clock.
Being sports on this Thursday, Chris is just going to, throughout the show, drop random games that are being leaked for the NFL schedule. What time's the show tonight? Is it like 8, 7 o'clock?
I do have a good game for you. Chiefs at Bengals, 4:25, week 14. Oh, man. Mahomes, Joe Burrow. Yeah.
The sad thing is, like, he's really excited.
I am.
He just gets random game. It's, oh my God.
I got my trip to Lambeau.
Are you kidding me?
I got my trip.
Falcons Saints? Oh, wait. When is that?
I don't know yet. Hasn't been released.
Okay. I'm sorry. I thought you had that one.
I wish.
That wouldn't be okay, but.
Well, I just gave you Chiefs Bengals. That's a good game.
Wait, what week is that?
Week 14.
Oh, no chance Burrow's healthy. That's just, just no chance. And whoever's the interim coach of the Patriots, by then they'll be playing for the lottery. Oh, wrong sport. Yeah. All right. Okay, you want a couple emails?
Absolutely.
So well, I'm going to pick the order here. Okay. The second one isn't even a question. The second one is just sharing an experience that is funny that maybe some people can relate to. But let me give you the first one here. This is a listener of ours who's writing about his son. Okay. Son is 26 years old and has been dating his girlfriend for about a year and a half and feels like it may be time to ask her to marry him.
Okay.
Okay, a little bit of background. The family is from Chicago. The family, Bears, Cubs, Bulls, Blackhawks, all the Chicago teams. Generations in Chicago, a great sports family. Even though we've lived in Orlando area now for 15 years, we try to get back for at least one, maybe a couple of Bears games a year. We always go up the summertime for a period and definitely see the Cubs. And so big sports background.
This is almost similar to another email we've had with the Chicago family.
His son went to Northwestern and met his potential fiance. Here's where it gets interesting. She is from just outside of Milwaukee in Wisconsin. And maybe you can imagine her family are big Packer fans. Mm-hmm. Also big Wisconsin fans. Mm-hmm. Love the Brewers. I don't know about the Bucks. Okay? The first time that my son was going to meet her parents, she says to my son, I don't think it's a good idea if you let my dad know that you're a Chicago Bears fan. My son thought she was joking, but literally, before they went into her parents' home, she reminded him, serious, can we just not talk football right now? So my son decided, okay, I'll honor what she said. And turns out they're hardcore Packer fans, like Packer gear all around the house. My son called me laughing and said, Dad, what do I do in this situation? Well, this now fast forward, and at some point, and it happened at a holiday party this past a holiday season where it came out. They're talking football, my son, potential father-in-law, and her two brothers, and said, well, you're from Chicago, you must be a Bears fan. And he said, yeah, I am. Well, the two brothers had no issue with it. For some reason, the dad gave the guy the cold shoulder for the rest of the night. Since then, in December, it's not exactly been a warm relationship. My son asked his potential bride-to-be, hey, is your dad serious? And she goes, well, kinda. My dad's a hardcore Packer fan, and he's not a big Chicago Bears fan, as you can imagine. And he says, is this going to be a potential problem? And she says, I hope not. He says, my son asked for advice, and I said, listen, I think the dad's probably overreacting here. Nothing like a good sit down with a guy. And I'm sure if you're good to his daughter in the end, that would win out. My son would like to ask the father for permission this coming July at a gathering at a lake house up there. My son's nervous. Did I give him bad advice? Or should he think twice about a potential marriage if the family's got a problem with his fandom?
Get over it. Tell the dad to get over it. If my daughter, when she's like 60 years old and decides to get married, if she falls in love with an Eagles fan, oh God, it's disgusting.
Even you laughed, yeah.
But I mean, as long as you treat the daughter with respect, at the end of the day,
Wouldn't you think, right? You sit down, make up the name. Hey, Paul, let's sit down. Yeah. The Cubs, I mean, the Bears. I mean, I love your daughter. Take care of your daughter. How immature can you be as a grown adult if you're like, I got a problem with this?
not only that, I mean, the Packers have owned the Bears for how long, and you still gotta give him grief? Like, get over it. Get over it.
My oldest daughter went to the University of Florida like I did.
Mm-hmm.
Her husband, my son-in-law, and his family, they're big LSU fans and Saints and so forth. I mean, almost every Saturday night or Sunday, she's at their house because they're watching the Saints or LSU. My youngest daughter is marrying into a Cleveland sports family and so forth. Doesn't bother me. I don't have any issue with it. But how hardcore can you be as a father?
No, that's not being a hardcore
Doesn't
fan.
every father want what's best for the daughter? And if the potential son-in-law treats her well, like,
that's not being a hardcore fan. That's being an idiot.
okay, well, but let me ask one scenario. What if the father like has an issue?
Then you pull the daughter aside and be like, look, I can't get through to him.
Right, you got to talk to, like, part of me, I don't.
You go around him.
The one thing I don't know is
Don't invite him to the wedding.
Yeah, right. The one thing I don't know is, like, is it a surprise engagement and he wants to ask the father for permission, then surprise, or does she anticipate, hey, we're going to get married at some point. We've been together for a year and a half. Because if that's the case, then he's got to go to the girlfriend and say, listen, I need your help here. Like your dad's giving me the cold shoulder here, and I need your help, right?
If the dad, for whatever reason, won't budge and just is a complete jerk,
then we kick his ass. And no,
obviously, then you go.
Can't you use the brothers too? Like, if the brothers don't seem to have an issue, it can't use the brothers to go, hey, talk to your dad, man. Right? Because the email indicates the brothers are cool and fine.
I'm at the point where you have the man-to-man talk with him. If he just, again, wants to be standoffish and a jerk and the cold shoulder, then don't come to the wedding.
Now, maybe you don't bring the Urlacher jersey when you go in there.
Walter Payton.
What's up? You got 5 minutes? Let's talk.
Go with the, what is it, the cheese grater on the head?
He's got a Mark Grace jersey as he walks in. Go, hey, how we doing? Sit down and talk.
Get over it.
Really?
That's not being a hardcore fan. That's being an idiot.
It is.
That's being an idiot.
Yeah. But I think you could use the brothers here.
But if the daughter doesn't want to help smooth things over.
She did say the first time he was going to meet the family, don't say you're a Bears fan. Like, I'd pause and go, what'd you say, sweetheart? Don't tell me you're a Bears fan. What? I mean, is that a red flag?
No, I don't think that's a red flag. But just, I don't know. You got to talk to the dad.
You know what I want to know? Has he been invited to go to a Packers game?
I don't know.
I wish I knew that.
We need a follow-up on this.
Yeah. Family goes to Packers game.
How would it be if they went to a Bears-Packers game?
Yeah, I think the dad's got to grow up here.
100%.
Just got to,
100%.
If the guy treats your daughter and you feel like she's going to be safe and protected and all that stuff, then get over it.
Sports is fun. It's fun to have rivalries, but
right, and then you can make it fun.
Yeah.
I mean, as the kid becomes your son-in-law, I mean,
get over
if the
it.
Packers beat the Bears, just good ribbon going on and all that stuff. 10 o'clock hour, WYGM Orlando, WJR HD2 Cocoa Beach. All right, here's the second one. This isn't even a question. This is just a story that somebody shared. I'm going to leave out the names of the locations.
Okay.
But it happened in the Orlando area. Okay. And the person writes, Dear Mark, I have to share a recent story out to dinner with two of the couples and a party of six of us having a really good time. Let me give you some background on what the day was. The other two guys and another one of our friends enjoyed a nice, wonderful day with a round of golf, and as you can imagine, with a lot of nasty food and beer, just what guys do.
Yep.
We were going out for dinner at a nice restaurant that night, and typical, we were late getting home, had to quickly shower and be able to get to the restaurant on time for the reservation. All right, we're all good, right? As you can imagine, I sit down, there's an order of food and so forth, and you know what's happening next. My stomach is about to have a major problem.
Oh, boy.
Well, I want to be kind of cool about it, and I try to figure out the best time to get up to go to the bathroom. Well, I think that moment happens after drinks and appetizers have been ordered. Okay? Get up, and it's a restaurant that doesn't have many tables. So you can imagine it's not a large restroom. It's one of those places where it's a shared restroom, men and women.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Keep going.
What? What's wrong, Chris?
Keep going. Keep going.
The door was locked, so I patiently waited, but it took longer than I thought.
Oh, no.
I'm not the type that likes to knock on a door because I want privacy as much as anybody. So I question, how long do you wait? But it now reached a minute and a half, and let's just say that Mother Nature's calling. What would you do in a situation like that? Knowing the surrounding areas, I now try to figure out, can I exit the restaurant to go to a nearby alternate location because I'm in trouble. I got to try to get out without anybody seeing me, and I successfully do that, I think. As I exit the restaurant looking left and right, there's a smoothie shop about 20 paces down. I go into the smoothie shop and I go to the restroom. It's got one of those keypads to get into the restroom. I go up to the counter. I said, "What's the code for the restroom?" The 16, maybe 17-year-old says, "You have to buy something to use the restroom." He says, "Just make me something," and he leaves his debit card on the counter. The guy gives him a code. He goes into the bathroom. He writes, "I don't need to tell you what happens for the next several minutes." Okay, we're fine, right? He goes, "I come out. The guy literally made me a smoothie and charged me what ends up being like $10.
Of course.
Get back to the table. Decide, as he's walking in, where's everybody? Sits down and didn't realize he's holding the smoothie cup. Others go, "What'd you do?" Not wanting to share every detail, he said, "I chose to tell kind of the truth. I had to go to the restroom and somebody's in the restroom, so I just walked over and, I ordered a smoothie." So now the table is drinks everybody ordered and appetizers. Well, as you can imagine, nature calls.
Again?
This time, he gets up to go to the restroom. Restroom's open, but he realizes he doesn't have his phone. He says, "I come back out. Do I go to the table? Did I leave it in the restroom? Did I leave it at the smoothie place?" Walks back out, goes to the smoothie place. He checks up at the top of the counter where he paid. He goes back towards the bathroom, and he writes, "As I went back towards the bathroom, I hear my ringtone, and the bathroom door's locked because someone's in the bathroom." Panicking, I said, "Hey, that's my phone in there?" No response. Then he waits. Couple minutes goes by. Person opens door. Phone's in restroom. He gets phone and heads back to table. What an experience. What a 10 minutes.
First of all, going back to the beginning of the story,
What a 10 minutes.
when you're at the first restroom and you're waiting, you say a minute, minute and a half,
Yeah.
you don't want to go in there if you're waiting that long.
No.
You don't want to go in there.
No, it's it's
That's gonna be a very-
it's a tough spot. It's a tough spot.
That's going to be a very warm seat, warm
Yeah.
air just
Yeah.
coming up.
Yeah. How about the smoothie, dude? Like, you got to buy something. Holding ground. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
He left a debit card and said, make me something, and then walks back in without realizing he's holding the smoothie cup. It's awesome.
oh my!
What a story. It's a great story.
Wow.
Yeah. What would you do?
I got nothing. I don't. Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do.
Yeah.
But now I need to come up with something if I'm ever in that scenario. Because you do a little day drinking, then you put some bar food in you.
Well, that was his point. You know, a
get
lot
the
of
bub-
unhealthy food, and then you sit down, people order naps and drinks, and the stomach calls, and you, got to
get the
go.
you get the bubbly guts.
And all of a sudden, the door's locked, and you're waiting, and so
You
forth.
don't want to wait more than 20 seconds.
Wait. How about hearing your ringtone and the bathroom door's locked? Wow. There's a lot going on there in 10 minutes.
That's
a lot.
That's funny that he talks through the door. Hey,
That's my
that's
phone.
my phone.
Would you answer? If you're inside the restaurant,
I'm like, dude, leave me alone. I'm trying to do something here.
right. Yeah. Wow. What a story. What a story.
I got nothing.
Yeah. No, you don't have anything. You just take it as a life experience. Yeah.
Life lesson, too.
Yeah. Yeah. Keith Smith's next.
Time to talk basketball with Keith Smith. The latest on the Magic and around the NBA. Follow Keith on Twitter at Keith Smith NBA.
All right, we talk hoops normally on Wednesday, but Keith available to us today, so let's dive into it. Keith, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Not like the Magic's Game 6 meltdown, but the Pistons were in prime position to win Game 5 of that series, up by 9 with a couple of minutes to go. Your observations as to what happened last night?
Yeah, if they lose Game 6, they're going to be thinking about this one all summer long because it looked like they were ready to go up. And if you're up 3-2, you feel like, all right, well, we can close it out. Or worst comes to worst, we got a Game 7 back at home, and we'll get it done then. And it just, just an absolute, kind of collapse from them down the stretch. I think it's what we have seen with them when it goes wrong is it's so much Cade Cunningham and the other team locks into it. Then other guys have to make plays. They don't. If they don't make plays, it goes sideways for the Pistons. And we're 6 games into this series. We had 7 games in the first round, and I'm still waiting for Jalen Duren to really show up. We've seen only very brief flashes of the player that we saw really take major steps forward in the regular season, and that's why it's been so much Cunningham, then Tobias Harris and Dennis Jenkins having to kind of do everything.
Look, the Pistons could win Game 6. They did in Orlando, and maybe they win in 7. And we're doing this after a loss, but it almost feels like now you look around and you say, gosh, how'd they win 60? It's not that they're not talented, but the pieces don't stand out like, oh, they're deep. They're not. I mean, it's not a very deep team, is it?
Yeah, no, it isn't. And this is where you start with the whole, were they just a regular season team? Like, and that's what, unfortunately, sometimes we do get there. And in the regular season, if you play really hard and you show up every night, you're going to win quite a few games because, this year we had, 8 to 10 teams by the time we get to the trade deadline, if not earlier for some teams that just, they didn't really care about winning a single game. So you could stack wins this year in ways you couldn't in years past. And that was the question with the Pistons are they a nice regular season team? What is it going to look like? Those concerns were only grew as they struggled to put away the Magic in the first round and had to have a major comeback to get it done in that series. And then now it's come even more to the forefront. I'll also say they really missed Duncan Robinson. Yesterday he was out with a sore back, and he is their best shooter by wide margin. And they need him on the floor to be able to space things out and give Cunningham and Thompson and Harris and a couple other guys, room to work inside the paint.
Let me get a quick thought on James Harden. There's always that playoff James Harden, and he's had a couple games in these first 2 rounds that you're thinking that's the James Harden. He was good last night, and it was interesting to hear him talk a little bit afterwards about accepting a number 2 guy alongside Donovan Mitchell. What are we watching with James Harden here?
Yeah, I think James Harden has gotten used to over the last several years kind of accepting that number 2 role. He certainly did it when Kawhi Leonard was there in LA. He did it with Joel Embiid in Philadelphia. He did it with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving. You could argue he's the 3rd guy in that group in Brooklyn. So I think we're several years into him doing that. We can see it's successful. But what's funny is he played really great down the stretch of game 4 as well to clinch that victory, and then did really well throughout the course of this game. But as a good friend reminded me, now is when he usually doesn't show up, or if he does show up, it's not in any kind of positive way. It's when you get into game 6 and game 7 and it's winning time to close out a series. That's when James Harden tends to struggle. So, it's great that he's looked so good, but a lot of people are going to be like, all right, now show it to me now when it really matters, because that he has not gotten done over the course of his career.
Okay, give me your thoughts on the Wemby Naz replay. He's ejected, flagrant 2, but there's no fine, there's no suspension. People wonder a couple things. It was a regular season when he'd been suspended. If Naz Reid is injured and he's out for the rest of the playoffs, did he get star treatment? All things that we're going to do because the games are magnified as we come down the stretch here. But your thoughts on the Wemby play?
Yeah, the upgrading it and ejecting him was absolutely the right call. When I saw it live, I was like, oh, that's going to be a flagrant 1. And then when I saw the replays, I was like, oh, that's a flagrant 2. He's going to go. And I think because Wemby doesn't have a history of stuff like this, he's never done anything like this before, then it is, you take that into account where, people are like, oh, if Draymond Green did that, he would have been suspended. Well, yeah, of course he would have been. This would have been the 20th time he's done something like that. For Wemby, it was the first time. So I think the punishment was enough that he missed the rest of that game and his team lost. And clearly, maybe it goes the other way if he's on the floor. So no real issue with me there. So I think that was the absolute right decision. And I'm glad Naz Reid is okay. And, they're going to get back at it in Minnesota. And what's going to be interesting is I think you're going to have a Minnesota crowd that they're going to have some venom for Wemby every time he touches that ball on Friday night.
What do you look? Clearly, you can watch him, and you know that he's going to be a special player for years to come. Is there anything, Keith, that stands out to say even better than I thought in this particular area? Because even though he's been in this league now a few years, I still think a lot of people haven't watched him as close as you do now in a playoff series. But what stands out that you say this is really, really special, and it's happening sooner than maybe people thought?
The off the dribble game for me. I mean, the fact that he's as big as he is and he can keep his dribble low and compact and not constantly get it deflected, poked away, or even, stolen from him, is that part is remarkable. And the teams try all these different things. They try to be physical with him. They try to put small guys on him that can get up underneath him. They try to put size on him, and almost none of it works. And it's the fact that he is able to do what he's able to do with the ball to kind of get himself to his spots. And when he backs his way down into that 10, 12-foot turnaround, might as well be a layup, because it's going to get to the point where the opposing coaches are going to say, stop trying to block it, because all you're going to do is foul him because you can't get to it. There's maybe two guys in the league that can even bother his vision on those turnarounds. It's more, you're better off, all right, turn, get a body on him and box out. So if he does miss, he doesn't get the rebound. And then defensively, you can still see at times he is still working off instinct. There are times when it is, oh, okay, they kind of got me, but he's so big, he's so long, he's so quick that he can react and do what he needs to do. And then what's really interesting, like you see it in this series, once he sees an action 2 or 3 times, then it's like, okay, now I have it solved and I know what it is. I mean, his processing speed, as far as his basketball IQ is absolutely incredible. This is a one-of-one talent, and we're all very lucky that we're able to watch this moving forward.
I'll ask you about the two teams that won, but let me ask you about the two teams whose season have ended and thoughts about what lies ahead. Obviously, the Lakers and what happens with LeBron James, but there are other pieces there that you kind of wonder about. Everybody, if you watch J.J. Redick tell you what he thinks of DeAndre Ayton, and then in Philadelphia, who made a move and fired Daryl Morey. They're committed to a lot of money for Paul George and Joel Embiid. So the two teams that ended their season getting swept, thoughts on those two teams first?
Yeah, I'll go to the Lakers first because I think they're a lot more interesting. They could add $50 million in cap space this summer, maybe even slightly more. We'll see, depending on how things kind of go. They've made it pretty clear, the Lakers, Austin Reeves, that they want to continue that relationship. There was reporting in the wake of their series-ending loss that Luka Doncic wants to continue to play with Austin Reeves. They've become close friends, but Luka also sees them as having really good basketball compatibility. And I think everything that came out, whether it was openly said or hinted at, is they're building this team around Luka Doncic now. If LeBron James wants to come back and be a part of it, they're happy to have him back, but they're no longer building a LeBron James roster. They're building a roster for Luka, and they've got, like I said, all kinds of cap space. Here's the challenge, though. All that cap space, but there's a lot of work to be done. They want athletic, rim-protecting, lob-catching big men. Well, they don't have that on the roster. They got to go get it. They want 3-and-D threats to put in the lineup around Luka. They don't really have that on the roster. They're going to have to go get it. $50 million is nice, but it's going to go very, very quickly. So I think this is going to be a process for the Lakers where it's going to be, we get some of it this off season, then we get some of it, moving forward. And then, of course, they're the Lakers. So any star who becomes available on the market, whether that's Giannis Antetokounmpo or not, they're going to be involved because they're the Lakers. That's how it works. And then for LeBron, we'll see. We'll see if it's with the Lakers, if it's somewhere else, if he is done. I don't think I don't think even he knows now. I expect that he'll still play. We'll see. And then with the Sixers, I keep it really simple. They had to do something to make some change, but how much changes with the roster? They've got so much money locked in on Paul George and Joel Embiid. Not that they're untradeable. Nobody is untradeable, but I don't think they're going to be giving up assets to get off those guys or anything. So I think you're going to see moves around the edges, maybe bring back Grimes or Oubre, maybe both if they can, and just kind of, work through it that way to, all right, let's, hope for a little bit better health and be a more competitive team, next year than we were this year. But I think we're at least a year out from them making major roster changes.
More impressive in the second round than the Thunder or Knicks?
I'll say the Knicks, because the Thunder we just kind of expected at this point. And with the Knicks have, they, as much as they were really good to close out the Atlanta series, they've got a little bit of a reputation of, all right, things are going really good. And then it's like, oh, everything kind of slipped on us. And we saw that in the Atlanta series. They won game one, then lost a couple, and then blew their doors off. But the way they came on, and I think what the Knicks realized is, hey, this Philly team, they're tired. They're weakened from a 7-game series with Boston. Let's just, we're going to put our, foot on their proverbial neck, and we're going to shut this thing down and blow these guys off the floor. And I think that was absolutely, for the Knicks fans, you got to be so excited if you're watching that saying, man, my team just went in there locked in on let's get this. They didn't even mess around in game 4. Now, it helps that they made, I don't know, about 90 out of 100 3-pointers in that game, it felt like, at least. So, I mean, they just absolutely rolled through the Sixers, and now they're sitting home feet up, hoping the Pistons can extend this thing to a game 7 and let those teams continue to beat each other up.
We've had the lottery. Any thoughts now that we know who picks where?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny having a lot of conversations with a lot of people this week who are in Chicago for the Combine, and then even people who are observing from afar. It feels like we're settling into Washington and Utah have the top 2 picks. It's going to be Devonta or Peterson, whichever Washington goes with. The other one will go to Utah. And then it's between Cam Boozer and Caleb Wilson for that 3-4, which is the Grizzlies and the Bulls. It feels like there's nobody else even really in danger of sneaking in there. Teams like Darius Acuff Jr., they like Keaton Wagler, but those guys aren't really seen as potential guys to bump off any of the top 4. And it doesn't seem like Devonta or Peterson is going to slip. I will say the Wizards and Jazz are both intending to try to win this year. The Grizzlies and Bulls are a little bit more of longer-term projects, but when you have the Wizards and Jazz trying to win, they're even open to, all right, hey, do we want to talk about trading back in the draft and picking up more win-now players? What does that look like? So that's going to be a conversation, but everybody expects they're going to stick where they are, and our top 4 probably goes to Bonsa, Peterson, Boozer, and then Wilson. That seems to be the way it'll go, but there's definitely decision points happening at both 1, 2, and 3, 4.
I'll play speculation game because it's fun, and we got a lot of weeks to do that. Who's first to press send on a phone call, Milwaukee or Orlando to the other?
I'm going to say Orlando, only because I don't know that Milwaukee's making outgoing calls. I think what Milwaukee has done is said Giannis is available, start the process here. And they are, they're clearly fielding offers, but that's the way it's been put, is they're fielding offers. I don't think they are reaching out to anybody right now, all right, we're going to try to do this or do that as far as, we want to be proactive about trading Giannis. Because the other thing is, it's one thing to say we're taking calls. Once you say we're being proactive, it can go a whole other way where then all of a sudden Giannis says, oh, you're proactively trying to trade me. Let me make it known I only want teams X, Y, and Z, and that's it. And anybody else, I'm not signing an extension, and I'm leaving in a year, and all these things where it can get difficult. So I think they're taking calls, and I guarantee Orlando's one of them, because I think all 29 teams are making a call.
Support his work. He's on X or Twitter at Keith Smith NBA. The links to everything he writes about and everything on the video side as well. Thank you, Keith. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Keith Smith talking basketball.
We got a Commanders Eagles week 1, 425.
Chris just dropping random NFL schedule leaks right now.
I got more. You want me to get more? I got more for you. Hang on.
Just give me like a 1:00 game in September. Just like a random 1:00 game.
Oh well, how about November? Browns Steelers 1:00, week 8.
How about that?
Yeah, Browns Steelers. Ooh,
NFL schedule release day.
love it.
Unbelievable.
Oh,
Unbelievable.
I'll have more throughout the show. Don't worry.
You want more football? Cam Miller's going to give it to you next.
This segment is presented by Bowegan's Beer Company. Love data? Love analytics? Let's take a deeper dive into both as we talk to Cam Mellor.
What you know is very limited, and what you don't know is limitless.
The Chief Analytics and Data Officer at Pro Football Network. You can follow Cam on X or Twitter at Cam Mellor.
It's always football season, and we get to talk with Cam Mellor. Follow him on X or Twitter at Cam Mellor, and there's plenty of content that's out there. First, good morning. How are you?
I'm great. It's a fun time. Scheduled release days in the NFL, but it's here. I feel like we have not very much left on the horizon this summer, though. After this,
do you know what Chris Vasquez has been doing throughout the show? He's obsessed with the schedule release. He just drops random like September 1:00 games. Like,
by the way, Christmas, we got Bears Packers.
Okay,
there we go.
No, but give me like a Titans, Titans Cardinals game at 4:00.
How about Texans Eagles? That game's on Christmas Eve. That's a good one.
Okay,
we got. Okay. I told you that we are opening the season with Jets and Titans.
Yeah, Cam. He has a schedule grid that someone else updates live that he has on his computer. Like, that's the most important thing right now for.
Oh.
I'm actually, we're hosting a live show for the release tonight, and I'm not even that prepared.
There you go.
You need to come onto the show tonight if you're free tonight at 8:30 p.m.
Okay.
I'll come on if you need to.
Well, Cam, tell us where people can find your show tonight.
Yeah, we're doing it debate style, so around the horn in our football debate club. So on YouTube, on Twitter, football debate club, and then at PFSN 365 on Twitter. So streaming live from all of our accounts as well. So it should be a lot of fun to debate some things in real time as games are being announced. We're also maybe going to talk about who has the best social media release, because that's always a lot of fun.
I don't want to play something. I think I'm going to be able to play this, Chris. Hang on here.
With the 84th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Devon Achane, running back, Texas A&M.
He got a deal yesterday, 4 years, $64 million, $32 guaranteed. I'm going to ask you to go back. Do you remember what you thought of Devon Achane coming out of college in 2022 to the 23 draft?
Yeah, I thought he was, if I'm being honest, if memory serves, I thought he was more of one of those gadget players with great testing that maybe you saw as a complimentary back. So credit to him and credit to that staff for maximizing his talent overall. Always knew he was going to be one of those, change of pace backs that could really take the proverbial top off the defense or give coordinators fits, but definitely did not see his growth being what it could be in the NFL. So kudos to him for putting in the effort, and that Dolphins staff for also maximizing him. Yeah,
and there's something to be said about a position as physical as that, and he still measures, not that he still measures 5'8", 2/3. And that frame, which is really, really fast, but it can take a beating, and he's been productive, so proves he can be under 6 feet and still be successful.
It gives hope to all the proverbial little guys out there that are playing that position. So, I mean, it's the wave of the future in the NFL is really, it's changing. He's probably part of that antithesis. But, Bijan Robinson and Jamar Gibbs have to be looking at their chops today.
I'm curious about this. I read a couple of people that either do what you do, or even those in college that kind of wonder about this. Whenever college football settles on a playoff format, and if it does get to the idea of 24, some say that there's no way agents of players projected to be taken high would allow their client to play 5 rounds. And even though we haven't seen it in a shorter 4-team, 8-12, do you ever think we'd see that where somebody sat out the playoffs?
I don't think so, because I think if you look at it, you see these top overall 1-year prospects in college basketball. They'll play all of their rounds if they go from all the way to the championship game. I know it's a little bit different with basketball. You can play more games, but I don't think we see it. I still think that there's enough to play for in a playoff and a national championship, but also it's more film against that you can put out, that you can give to NFL teams to watch you go up against, arguably, or for the most part, the best teams that you've played or the best players you've played against. And I think, it's good for your proverbial job interview that you're going to have. I mean, you can be playing all the way through. I think we see a less influence or lesser appearances from these players in the all-star games, maybe even at the combine then eventually, though.
If Jeremiah Smith was draft eligible, where would he have gone this year?
right where Carnell Tate was drafted, I believe, in this class, maybe even a little bit earlier, maybe would have given the Cardinals a little bit of pause to select Jeremiah Love at 3 overall. I think that there's even a case to be made that he could have been the 2nd overall pick, or somebody trading up to get him at number 2. I think he's that good. I think we blew out of proportion those drops against Texas in week 1. He still had a quietly great year, and I believe that there's more for him to play for this year. But no, I mean, this is, when you throw out generational talent, I believe Jeremiah Smith should be next to that in the dictionary.
If Malachi Toney was available, or if he was available in 27, where would he go?
Right where Jordan Tyson went this year. And then I think he's right up there as well. I think you look at what Jackson Smith and Jigba has been able to do in the NFL, and you look at Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think that obviously Tony's a little bit undersized in that sense from those, even those are the big alpha X wide receivers on the outside. But it doesn't matter. The new age NFL needs an outside receiver that can take the top off of the defense, and then they need the receiver or the quarterback's best friend. And that's what Malachi Toney presents at the NFL level. There's 2 blue chip receivers coming back to college football this year. One we get for 1 more year, and one we get for another 2 years, and that's Malachi Toney.
As we look, though, to the wide receiver class, is Cam Coleman a solid number 2? And where's Ryan Williams, where we once thought, this is really special, and it wasn't a great season last year as we head into 26?
Yeah, it's interesting. The Ryan Williams proverbial decline is interesting, because that one feels like there actually is something to it, as opposed to Jeremiah Smith's overblown proportion, those drops. I think Coleman is probably a top 10 player as well in this draft, so we might wind up ending up next April talking about them like we talked about Carnell Tate and Jordan Tyson, where they should go, where they should land. And I do think Coleman has not ever really benefited from having a solid quarterback or even a competent passing attack going his way. So very interesting to see what he can put forth with Arch Manning. But also Charlie Becker is going to climb up that group, in my opinion, too, and make it for a top 3 receivers that we haven't seen in a while.
And a first-round guy, you think?
I think Charlie Becker, yeah, absolutely. If top 15 even at this point. Obviously still early, and we have a whole season, but I think with what we saw down the stretch last year, he would have been our 9th graded receiver and would have been our 2nd highest graded receiver returning to football had he qualified for enough snaps.
Again, it's dangerous to look at other mock drafts in May, but it's fun. And with so much attention on quarterbacks, one caught my eye. It was, CBS did a mock draft, had Drake Lindsey going to the Bucs at 14. Drake Lindsey had 1 year as a starting quarterback in Minnesota this past year. You and I often talk about guys that make big jumps. Is Drake Lindsey somebody that we should add to the quarterback class for 27 in the first round?
Not the first round. I think the first round's a little rich. But what I will say is, I think if you look at like the prototypical pocket passer who has a little bit of creation capacity at the NFL level, he's sort of the guy. And I think it was a quiet season that he produced this past year. And I think that I don't know. It's a little rich. First round is rich, but I mean, things have happened. There were moments from Fernando Mendoza's Cal year that you looked at it and you said, okay, this guy could be a first round pick. And then he does what he does at Indiana. I don't think we saw enough from Lindsey last year at Minnesota to really say, wow, he could eventually become a first round pick. Not to say he can't, but I think we need a little bit more from him this year before we start crowning that. And it's, the size is there. It's arm talent there, though.
Is Amon Wilson from Missouri transferred to Miami? Is he the next Kane defensive end that becomes a first-round pick?
Yeah, it's when he and Zion Young were at their best last year, there was probably not a better edge defender duo. And so with quick wins, fast hands, and strength to speed ratio that he has, yes. Maybe not quite in the Ruben Bain era or echelon, so to speak, yet, but not to say he couldn't be with what they bring back on that defensive front. I love his game overall and how fast he wins. So if he can, get some elongated victories in the pass rush, I think that's where he climbs.
This is just tea leaf gossip, but somebody that was down at a couple of the Canes practices, including their final practice, Mario Cristobal's proud of guys he brought in and all the attention on the quarterback. He said that may have been the best player they brought in because of what he replaces and why there won't be a big drop-off at Miami, which is pretty high praise, I would think.
Pretty high praise. I'm very interested to see what happens just in general with that passing attack, because if Malachi Toney can reach that many targets last year, will he do that with Cooper Barkate as well? And having the year rapport with Mensa to Cooper Barkate, and I think this is if you're an ACC fan, if you're a Miami fan, this is the year that they can win the ACC, and they better do it this year, it feels like. But it does feel like they brought in a bunch of talent across the board that is going to be unheralded because we're looking directly at just that Mensa Barkley connection.
Cornerbacks are not as sexy because we like, quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers. For those that don't know yet about Leonard Moore, explain how good he is. And again, all attention on quarterbacks. Cornerbacks looks like it's loaded in 27 too, where you could get, 4 or 5 guys in the first round.
Yeah, there's probably 4 right now at least, and then a couple of guys that have that really high recruiting platform that they need to maybe take a few steps in. And then there's a guy like Kelly Jones at Mississippi State who does nothing but lockdown. And I mean, there's even Elijah Green, the kid from Tulsa. So a fringe guy that we're going to see come out of nowhere potentially. But yeah, no, Leonard Moore is the Jeremiah Smith of defenders this year. I think generational gets thrown out, obviously, but he's his one generation. And so you want to talk about a guy that we're going to compare every other cornerback to probably this year, and then next year and the year after that, it's Leonard Moore. There's sticky coverage defenders, and it's Leonard Moore. There's lengthy coverage defenders, it's Leonard Moore. And then there's these guys who play physical and can play in zone or press man coverage. I mean, this is Leonard Moore to a T. He's an NFL cornerback already.
I want to end with this. I don't dislike Mike Norvell. When he was at Memphis and the rivalry at UCF, I respected the offenses that they ran. I thought they were really good, and the games against UCF were great. We know the journey at Florida State, and I know the pressure that he faces this upcoming season. He said in a recent interview he's ready for the best year of his life in calling plays again. There seems to be a real lack of buzz right now at Florida State, and maybe it's wishful thinking. Some people question, have they picked the right quarterback? So here we are, still months away of the start of a season. But when Mike Norvell says that, do you think he's re-energized? Do you think he understands the panic? And do you think he has the personnel to get back there?
Yeah, I think he understands the panic. And I think that obviously with the buyout and what needs to come from this, I do think that there is some talent on the team that I think he can work with. And we're only 2 years removed from him maximizing that talent and then relying on an uber athletic quarterback to actually throw the ball down the field. And Jordan Travis, from where we were a couple years ago, Tommy Castellanos was not quite that guy that was a Jordan Travis. I'm not saying Ashton Daniels is that guy, but it does feel like he has the most frustrating eval that we've had in a long time, where there's incredible talent to throw the ball down the field, incredible talent with his legs as well. And so I think that this is the offense. This is it. Obviously, if he does it, he does it. The speed that they have at receiver, the overall talent that Ashton Daniels does have at quarterback, and then what they were able to bring in, namely Xavier Chaplin on the offensive line. I do think that he found his weaknesses from years past, and so him calling plays, I do think that he recognizes it, but I also think that this could be the proverbial year that he does bounce back.
Chris, you want to give Cam one more random 1 o'clock game here?
Oh, I got a good one here. Browns at Jets, week 5, 1 o'clock. Man. That's a good one.
If there's any team that the Jets can grab an interception from, let's hope it's that game, right?
Wow. We'll leave it on that. Please check out Cam's work on X or Twitter at Cam Meller, and it's always good catching up. Thank you.
My pleasure, Mark. Thanks as always.
So he's got a schedule release show
Love
tonight.
That. I hope I'm a part of it.
Get locked in on that one, Chris, huh?
That's fantastic.
Wow. So how many Cowboy games do you have now?
There's only 3.
Only 3 released?
Only 3.
Huh.
Very disappointing. And I told Cam this when I was calling him. I got a pet peeve with the NFL, with these divisional games for international games and for holiday games. Make it something different and fun. We get divisional games twice a year.
Well, I've agreed on the divisional. I don't think any divisional game should be an international game. Because I think divisional games, you build rivalries, and when someone gives it up, that means one fan base isn't getting that game. So I agree on that.
Like, we see it twice a year. I want something different. Like, I don't want to see Cowboys Eagles on Thanksgiving.
I don't mind that. I'm talking about. I
don't want to see Packers Bears on Christmas.
I don't mind that. It's the international games that I think should be non-divisional games.
I think all of these holiday international games should be non-divisional.
Listen, hey. When we get the 18th game, which is going to be sooner than later, everyone's going to play an international game. And just the way the schedule is going to be with the extra bye and all that stuff. So let's do a show within the show.
Let's do it.
If you're on the stream, sit right there. I got a great story that we'll do in just a little bit. You can get to it by going to our YouTube page, 96 The Game Orlando. Click on the logo and the live button and catch the stream there. You can always also get the stream by going to our Twitter at 96 on Game On. You can listen on FM 96.9 AM 740 and on the iHeart app, no matter where you are. 11 o'clock hour, the news also coming up.
All right. I think we're good.
So I just saw the news. I guess the Sentinel posted this a few hours ago.
Okay.
Ken Griffey Jr. is selling his Windermere home in Iowa.
Okay.
It's $27 million. $27 million. 22,000 square feet on 11 acres.
Mm-hmm.
And he lived there for, they moved there in the 90s. Okay. While he was still playing, it was built in the mid 90s.
Okay.
And it's got 7 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms, 2-bedroom guest wing with a separate entrance, gym, salon room, dog room, wine room, plenty of other extra things. The pool's incredible. Circular garage. Okay. So it's insane. 125,000 gallon pool, 440-foot lakefront boat dock, $27 million. Now, let me go back to how old I am. Okay.
Okay.
I remember when that home was being built, and it was like a really big deal. If you drove on the back side of Isleworth and in Windermere, you could see the pool was being built. There was this big rock pool with this really cool slide that kind of went all around. And until they built up the shrubbery around it, you were able to see, and it was like, that's Ken Griffey's home. And I think, I might be wrong on this, I think at the time it was the largest home in Central Florida that was being built. I don't remember what the initial price was. And it was a big deal that Junior moved here and wanted Florida to be his home and raise his kids here. And now they're selling the house for $27 million. Here's the Ken Griffey Jr. story.
Okay.
I met Ken Griffey Jr. twice, never had a just hello, whatever. My wife and I are at now called Disney Springs, but West End Disney, all the different names, right? And Chris, we went twice in a 2-month period, and both times at the row that we parked in the parking garage, and then walked to go down the escalator. Both times in back-to-back months, Ken Griffey Jr. walks past me with his wife and other people. What's the odds?
Wow.
What's the odds? And my wife is my witness.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it may have been like June, July, whatever. We went there for dinner or something, and both times, oh, hey, there's Ken Griffey Jr. The next month we go back, walk, and she goes, was that? I go, yeah, and look back, and did we just pass Ken Griffey Jr. again at that moment in the parking garage at whatever, Disney Springs?
Not a head nod, not a, hey, how's it going? Nothing? You just walk by him?
What's he gonna? He's not gonna head nod back at me.
You don't know that.
I was just more impressed. Like, what's the chance?
I'm very disappointed in you.
That into the head nod?
Yeah, head
he
nod.
He doesn't know me.
So what?
Yo, Junior, what up?
Okay,
like that.
You're not buddy. Just, hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
Man, you missed golden opportunity.
For what? Was he gonna stop and go, Mark, what's up?
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, I don't want to be that guy.
Oh my God.
You would have done that.
Yes.
What would you have said?
Hey, how's it going?
And what'd you want him to say?
Hey, man.
And that what makes your night?
Simple interaction.
You think that makes your night?
I could say.
And then, hey, Junior and I talking it up?
Damn straight.
You weren't talking.
Me and Ken Griffey Jr. exchanged words.
To his credit, not that he didn't need no security, just walking like another person having dinner. Yeah.
You want another leak?
Huh?
You want another leak?
Yeah.
Cowboys, Eagles, week 7, Monday Night Football.
Monday Night Football.
So you have the Cowboys and Eagles, week 7, and then Thanksgiving.
Uh-huh.
You'd want those two teams playing at the end of the season, no? Divisional, probably the 2 best teams in the NFC East.
When's the second Giant game? Has that been announced yet? Cowboys, Giants?
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
I don't think it'll be week 18, though. It's not taking a shot. I just don't think it'll be week 18.
It wouldn't matter. We've wrapped the division up by then anyway. So. Wrap that up anyway. Yeah.
So far for the Giants, you have home for the Cowboys, home for the Titans in week 3, home for the Cardinals week 4, Home for the Saints week 6.
W.
Home for the Commanders week 10.
W.
Home for the Jags week 11.
W.
Home for the Niners week 13.
Maybe.
Home for the Browns week 15.
Definite.
That's what's been released for the Giants so far.
Have you seen I can't believe I'm actually buying into this. Primetime games for state teams. Or marquee days. I mean, one of the Jags are playing 2 international games.
There is Monday night Bucks game.
Is Josh Hart sitting with his dog at a press conference?
Yes.
Come on. Oh.
This is Bucks Panthers week 12. That's a Saturday game. The Bucks where are the Bucks at?
Week 12.
Yeah.
Week 12 Saturday game?
Yep.
What date?
November 29th. Or that's the week of November 29th.
Okay. It's Thanksgiving weekend. Right? Do you have the day?
Yeah, that's Thanksgiving week because the Cowboys play the Eagles that week.
November 29th is Sunday.
Okay, I said the week of.
Oh, I thought you said Saturday. I'm like, they're not playing a Saturday game.
No, that game is Saturday. No, that's sorry, that's Monday Night Football.
So that's November 30th.
Yes. I'm going off the grid here. What do you want from me? It doesn't give me dates. It just says the week of.
Okay.
It'll be Sunday's date.
Okay. So then it's Sunday Night Football.
No, it's Monday night. So it's the 30th. The date is.
Oh.
The date of the row.
So
is
the game is November 30th. That's the
Yes.
Monday. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's go do the news. All right.
Make things so complicated.
Let's really do the news.
Yes.
Now it is time to do the news.
But now it's time for the news.
11 o'clock hour, WYJ Orlando, WJR, HD2 Cocoa Beach. Let's get to the news. Shams Charania reporting that the Bulls are finalizing a deal to hire Magic assistant GM Stephen Mervis as the senior VP of basketball operations as the Bulls have redone their front office. NBA last night, and the Cleveland Cavaliers won for the first time on the road to the playoffs with a 117-113 win of the Pistons. They were down 9 with a couple of minutes to go. A 9-0 run to end regulation, and then they win in overtime. 30 for James Harden, 39 for Cade Cunningham, 7 rebounds, 9 assists, still a bunch of turnovers, and nobody else really stepping up to help for Detroit, who now will have to win a Game 6 on the road as they did against the Magic. There is no NBA playoff game tonight. On Friday, the Pistons and Cavs will play Game 6, and then the Spurs and Timberwolves will play Game 6 of their series. NHL last night, one game, the Colorado Avalanche wrapped up their series with an overtime win against Minnesota 4-3. Tonight in the NHL playoffs, the Canadiens and Sabres play Game 5 in Buffalo, series even at 2, and the Las Vegas Golden Knights will try to win their series up 3-2 on the Anaheim Ducks. Anaheim tries to win it at home. Golf's major of the PGA Championship is underway with round number 1 going on. And the leaderboard of the PGA Championship just underway finds Stephen Yeager at 4 under par through 11 holes. Cam Smith is 2 under through 11. Some other names out early. Xander Schauffele's 2 under par through 8. Patrick Cantley 1 under par through 10. Brooks Koepka 1 under par through 8. The early group out and about playing round 1 of the PGA Championship in Newtown Square, Pennsylvania. Talked about Shohei Ohtani yesterday with you. Dude was dealing some heat last night.
He's not going to average.
This is his 3rd win, though.
He's not going to average 50 homers and 15 wins. It's not going to happen.
By the way, Ohtani lowers his ERA to 0.82. It's pretty good.
So yeah, I'd say so.
Pretty good. Orlando City won last night. Martin Ojeda with a game winner in the 90th minute. Orlando beats Philadelphia 4-3. Michigan and UConn will square off in the first week of the 26-27 college basketball season, 7 months after their national championship game. Game will be played at Boston's TD Garden.
Any concern with the second surgery on Malik Neighbors?
My only concern is, does he play week 1?
Okay.
I mean, whatever. Clean up what you got to clean up.
Yeah.
If you can play week 1, great. If you can't, then obviously we got a problem.
So much for meaningful Giants football going past Halloween.
Wow. Straight shots in May, huh? Division One men's soccer is going to shift in college from a fall sport to a fall and spring sport beginning in the 27-28 season. This has been worked on for quite some time. Actually, this is really good for the game. Teams will be allowed to play 18 matches from August to November, up to 10 matches from February until the NCAA tournament. The goal here is to put college soccer more in line with the professional calendar. And like I said, talked about for quite some time and finally going to do it, which I think is a smart move for them. Devon Achane is one of just 3 NFL players with at least 3,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards receiving since his 2023 debut. Can you name the other 2?
2020.
3,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards receiving since his debut.
I'll say Jahmyr Gibbs.
Oh, yeah, that's right. One more.
Okay. Christian McCaffrey.
Bijan Robinson. Not bad, though, getting Gibbs there. Pretty good. Thoughts on the Achane signing?
I guess he really is one of their foundational pieces. I wouldn't have been surprised if they traded him probably around the draft. But well, he's going to stick around in Miami for a while.
$32 million guaranteed to the 64. He'll never get paid. He'll never get paid $64 million.
What was the? I think Breece Hall got what, $45 million guaranteed.
I don't remember.
Who would you rather have, Breece Hall or Devon Achane?
Which team am I?
We'll say you're the Giants.
I think we're pretty loaded at running back, aren't we? I like Achane.
Like Achane?
I like big playability. You know, he's fast.
Okay.
So, Hall's good. I think I take Achane. You?
I do like Breece Hall, but he's got so many games where he's kind of getting bottled up.
Yeah.
But that could just be a bad Jets O-line.
Yeah. Wait till Achane runs this year. Up next, a former player in college that now writes about the sport did a couple of really good deep dives. You ever wonder what it's like when the football coach has to make that call to a donor begging for money to buy a player? Well, imagine that happens and the player takes the money and still leaves. And what exactly is the tampering phone call like? He'll join us to explain next. Ever wonder what it's like on either end of this call? You're a college football coach. You're scrambling to keep your players who are thinking about entering the transfer portal, and you got to make a phone call. You got to call a donor. You got to kiss up to because he's got money that you want to pay a player. Imagine if you're the donor that gets the phone call and sees the caller ID and like, I know he's calling to ask for money. It happens hundreds of times, if not thousands of times, during and after a college football season. Or imagine you're a player that has a great game. And all of a sudden your representation is fielding phone calls because why? Because coaches are trying to poach you. Tampering. It's two big issues in college sports. Our next guest is kind to join us and chat about two things that he's recently written about. Darian Starling played college football at UT San Antonio, UTSA, and writes a Substack before Saturday, and he's kind to join us. Darian, welcome. Good morning. How are you?
Thanks. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
First off, you played for Larry Coker, correct?
Yes, I did.
What was Larry Coker at UTSA like?
He was great, man. He was a great motivator, and he had a lot of interesting stories from Miami back in the day that he would always point back to. So he was a great coach to play for, and he brought a lot of energy to the team.
You bring a different perspective having played this game. So as you watch what college sports has evolved to, and let me dive into this because among the pieces that caught my eye, first the donor call. Can you share, because you spoke to people that do this, what is that call like? How does it go down? Because as I brought you on here, each side has a unique story here. One seeking money, one really doesn't want to give money. But what is the donor call in 2026 like?
Yeah, so I'll give it to you from the head coach's perspective, right? So a lot of the times, most of these head coaches have donors that they are really, really close with that have sort of deeper pockets, right? So, and with those relationships, these donors oftentimes will bail these coaches out whenever they really need them in a pinch. And the specific situation I was talking about, well, there's a coach, and I'm not going to give any specifics here, but there's a particular coach in the American Conference who was trying to retain a player. And they called one of the donors, which the donor is the one that I have a really good relationship with here. But he called that donor late at night and said, hey, this guy is getting on a plane and he's going across the country for a visit at a Power 4 school. And we thought we were keeping him. And he says they're offering him more than $150,000 more than what that particular school could offer him, but he would be willing to stay if we upped his pot to $50,000 to $75,000 more. That donor had to make a decision at that time. Do I do this or not do this? The donor decided, you know what? Hey, I'm going to do it. He's a really great player. He's important to the team. He wrote a check to that for that head coach in the middle of the night. And long story short, the kid still went up to that other school, ended up getting less money, even though that donor, came up with the money at that particular point in time. The donor was really upset about that and basically saying it feels almost soulless and lifeless that I'm writing checks to these kids. I'm doing everything I can to try to help out the program. But this kind of thing happens, and it's just a constant sort of repeatable process they have to go through every season at this point, and it's exhausting for them.
Yeah, my follow-up is there has to be donor fatigue because, the old days, coach calls a donor's like, look who's calling me. Now, he already knows what's happening. Is there high donor fatigue right now? And maybe not for some schools, but for a bunch of schools, there has to be donor fatigue, is there not?
1,000%. I think you see it more with the smaller schools because there's not a huge pool of big donors at these schools, right? Your bigger schools that, big SEC top of them, they have plenty of donors that's giving millions of dollars a year. You look at these smaller group of 5 schools, they may have literally a couple. So that puts a lot of responsibility on shaping that roster in that donor's hands. People don't realize these donors are extended members of the programs. These donors are also, head coaches are pulling them into the office and showing them the board of who's on what money and what we trying to devise a plan on how to retain some of these people. So yeah, the donors are exhausted with a lot of this stuff, and some of them love to do it. They love it. Some of them, the ones who aren't exhausted, feel like they're almost owning the team in a sense. But there's another side to it. Like you said, are very fatigued by all of this chaos in this new era of college football.
Darian, for some of the coaches that you're talking about, I mean, Ryan Day doesn't have a problem making that phone call, but for some of these coaches, it's almost a tail between the legs. Like, gosh, I don't want to press send here, but I have to press send. What's the feeling for coaches in that situation?
Yeah, I mean, so I haven't talked to a lot of coaches about that call. I've talked to a couple about that call specifically, a couple of head coaches. I've talked to more assistants. And they don't want to, they don't like, it's why you see some of them really against just this new age, because they have to sort of do this. They have to be really good with budgets. They have to be really good salesmen, even more than they were asked to be before, right? Before it was about selling their coaching philosophy, how they're going to construct a team, how they're going to develop players, things like that. Now they have to sell to fans and donors more than ever to give them money each year and prove why they deserve people's money year after year, right? So the coaches, you're totally correct on. In some cases, it's kind of tail between the legs type situation, and it's tough on them.
I wonder this. I've talked about this for a couple of years, and you write about this, how the NI world and how fast it's happened has changed. It's one thing to have a lot of money. Rich people like to make money. These $75, $100, $500,000 checks, it's an emotional investment. There's no financial return. And I've spoken to a few donors about that, and I'm curious your thoughts, because some guys love that, hey, I'm the GM, I kind of run the team. But if you're the guy that strokes that check a few times, you're not getting anything back. And I do wonder, when does that faucet end, and if coaches are afraid of that?
Yeah, coaches are certainly afraid of that. That's why right now you're seeing a lot of athletic directors, whenever they put out strategic plans, they talk about growing their donor base to a certain amount. And they have to do that because they need to relieve pressure on those few at the top who are really giving them the money. Because it's harder and harder to continue to ask these folks things. Because, to be honest, and I was talking to a donor about this the other day, there's expectation, right? So I'll take you back to that example that I brought with that, what I built the piece around.
Right.
Was if that guy stays at that program, that donor generally has an expectation that that person is going to be on the field playing.
Oh, yeah.
And that creates a completely different sort of dynamic, right? But yes, there's the donors who are really giving a lot of money. They're not getting anything on their return. You have some donors who are owners and things like that. They are doing advertising and stuff through that, but they don't get the amount of return that would actually benefit them. So yeah, it's a selfless thing to do, and it's almost why some of these donors, in some cases, are essentially running these programs and shaping the direction of these programs because they're funding it.
Darren Sterling's with us, the former college football player, now writes the Substack before Saturday. Let me shift to tampering. I think I was guilty of this, and I'm going to work my way to the piece that you wrote about. When you've got one program accusing another, as Dabo Swinney did, said, I got the receipts here on Ole Miss. This is what they did. We had a player, came here, everything, and then they stole him. We all thought, uh-oh, this is going to blow tampering wide open. Nothing has happened since then. Nothing about that story. You write about tampering and how common it is, and you give a specific example. I'm going to ask you to share and encourage people to read your piece, but share what happens and how a tampering contact and call is made.
Yeah, I mean, it's through intermediaries, right? So the particular piece that I wrote about, and I may end up giving a little bit more detail here, but essentially I went to a game last season, and the game ended, and I have former player friends. I have people within the college football industry. I have relationships all over the country, and there were some guys I hadn't seen in a while, and we all got together at a bar after the game just to hang out and talk, right? And we're talking football. And one of the guys that I was with, he's an agent. He's sort of one of these intermediaries who he primarily negotiates deals from the high school level to the college level, but he has some college clients as well. And a head coach called him directly. A head coach it's a notable head coach that he has a relationship with. And the head coach said, "Hey, we just finished playing such and such. I need everything you know on this guy. We want him." And what happened initially, I knew a lot about that player. I was asked about that player, and I sort of profiled them myself to them. And after that, after the call hung up, it was like, "Hey, that was Coach blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Are you serious?" And within 30 minutes, he was on the phone with that player and that player's family, basically informing him, this school is interested. They typically at your position, at what you're doing, they offer this amount of money. If you finish the season out well, this is going to be a destination for you. And that player's family was completely telling him, "Hey, you need to take that opportunity." So anyway, I explained that to say this happens all the time. That's not the only story I have. That's just the one that was easiest to tell without divulging information close to the situation. But it's like that around here.
Oh, I'll share and here, you may not know, I broadcast UCF. I've done it for 31 years. Scott Frost openly talked during his first season and at the end of the season. You have a player has a good football game. That player in representation comes in, not week 11 or 12, week 4, and says, "Hey, we're looking for this much money so that we can stay." Again, not week 12, week 4. And as you were doing, your piece, that's common. Player's a good game. That agent's phone's blowing up, right?
Exactly. And it gives the meaning of recruiting your own roster even more validity because, these agents, and I'll just be honest, right? Like, I do have many friends who are agents in this space. A lot of them, and I don't think they'll be upset about me saying this, it's a money situation for them. They're getting really big, basically commissions and chunks of these players' pay, because a lot of these guys are signed to bad contracts with the agents, and they are going to, by hook or by crook, advise these guys to take the most money possible. In some situations, it's probably a good thing. In a lot of situations, it's been a bad thing. So it's a rough business out there right now.
Darian, but yet I think, and I'll ask you, I don't know how you fix it because no one will follow the rules. And I think part of it is, I don't think coaches really want rules because I think their feeling is, well, if I follow the rules, then the rival of mine's not going to follow the rules, so I have to do it. And it's almost their way of justifying it, like, yeah, I wish we had real tampering rules that we can enforce, but it's not possible. I don't know if it's possible to set rules. Do you think?
Not at all. There's no way you're going to be able to set rules around this thing. There are just too many relationships across the country. Everybody's worked with everyone. It's weird. It's weird. People don't realize who are not in it, but the college football, just football in general, even on the NFL level, everyone's spread out around the country, but everybody knows everybody. It's weird how that works. The relationships are really, really connected. So, like, players or coaches from other staffs always are talking, always are figuring things out and things like that. They are going to be getting intel from any way they can, right? And that leads to tampering. I'm a part of the intel ecosystem, right? A lot of the things I report on is because I am part of a lot of these relationships that are across the country. It's just a really, really interesting time and a compelling time because we've never seen anything like this, and it's a wild time in college athletics.
Let me end with this. You played, I think I'm correct, you played all 4 years at UTSA, am I correct?
Yes, that's correct.
The 4-year player, it's practically non-existent. What are your thoughts as someone that said, hey, I'm going to school? Transferring was different back then. You played 4 years. I'm sure you have great memories of players that to this day are friends of yours. And now you watch a world that a lot of guys are almost encouraged to play 4 and 4. different schools and years and so forth. The 4-year guy is almost non-existent.
Yeah, that's a really good point, right? I feel like I have a really good connection to UTSA. The fans there, I still go back, and they still show so much love. Not necessarily because it was the first program, but I stayed 4 years. I started for 4 years there, and that type, the people over the years get to know you, and they get to build this sort of connection. I think about Frank Harris, who had been at UTSA. I mean, he had multiple medical registers, so I ended up thinking he was there for 6 years or so. But he had 4 years where he played all the way throughout. And he's a legend around that city. The thing that sucks about today is it is very hard for players and fans to have that same type of relationship and connection because guys are in and out in a year or two. And that is something that I think is underestimated right now because this stuff is still new. But what's going to happen is you're going to start seeing the type of fan turn over because a lot of folks that built their fandom off that connection is now gone. And it's one of the reasons why I think athletic directors are important because players and coaches are in and out all the time. The athletic director typically has more staying power, so they have to sort of facilitate that connection with the fan base and get the fans to really, really embrace the program that they build and not the players and coaches as much because there's so much turnover. So, yeah, it's a really different time that we're experiencing right now.
He's on X or Twitter at Darian Starling, and if you go there, you can get the link to the Substack that he's writing before Saturday's good stuff. And thank you, Darian, for joining us. I appreciate it. Hope we talk again.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Chris, the dark side of the world, man.
What I don't understand how we can have 32 coaches, and I get there's tons more in college football than the NFL. But you have 32 owners and coaches who can follow a set of rules, who have a salary cap that they live by, and as far as I know, everything's done legitimately by the book. Where in college, it's all about how can I cheat first to make sure I get the best player, and what other school can I screw over to get their best player to come over here?
Okay, let me connect and answer your question. Do you know why the owners are going to win in the baseball labor dispute? Because there's a fixed number of them. Now, even though it's an owners versus owners thing. Same thing happens in the NFLPA. It's easier to get 30 billionaires to agree versus 1,500 or 2,000 players that all have different agendas. In the NFL, there's 32 owners that have pretty much the same agenda. Make as much money as they can, and the model's designed for them to do that, but they can police themselves a lot easier with 32 than in college football, whatever we are now at the Division I or FBS, 140 schools. And if you have no rules, then some love it because they can continue to just do what they do. That's why in tampering in the NFL, you can get called out. People can accuse you and present to the NFL, and there are consequences for it. In college football right now, there's nothing. Remember Dabo Swinney said, I got all the receipts of this case. There's nothing to that case. Anybody know anything about the case? The kid's at Ole Miss. He went through spring practice. He's playing. Whatever. They don't want rules. The National Football League, they wanted rules. And collectively bargain with the players to say, here are the rules that we're going to follow. Here's how the players benefit from it. But part of college football, and it still is, even though the governance is a little bit weighted towards the power of schools, hey, we got to think about what's best for the MAC. I don't care about that at Ohio State. Heck, at Ohio State, I don't care what Purdue's doing. I don't want rules. And the tampering thing we've talked about. What college coach doesn't want tampering rules, but what college coach believes you can enforce it? And therefore, if you can't enforce it, well, then I'll cheat as best as I can. And he who has the most money has the best chance to cheat. So I'll tamper, third party, and I'll go after players. And I'm telling you, as I asked Darian, and Scott's told me about it, and others have told me about it, you get a wide receiver that has a breakout game, has 12 catches, 215 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Trust me, he's not going to Chili's with his family for dinner alone that night. His agent is being a good agent or representation by reaching out to schools to go, hey, did you see the clip of my guy? Yeah. What are you thinking about? Not week 12. Week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you go back to the coach and go, we're going to need an extra this much to stay. And that coach is like, I'm trying to get a game plan for the road game this week. And you're like, yeah, keep it in mind because so-and-so's offering this. How do you police that? How do you police that? I don't know how you police it. And in many cases, your biggest brands don't want it policed. Why? Because they get the pick of the litter. They don't want it policed. I get whatever I want. So that guy that's at UTSA that's playing great, that wide receiver, and if Ryan Day in Ohio State goes, man, we can use him as the number 3 guy next year, you can't win. You can't stop that. When the agent then calls a family and says, hey, we just got a call from Ohio State, and they're looking at paying $800,000 next year, and you're making $60,000, stay healthy.
It's so frustrating.
And
Annoying.
And by the way, when you stay healthy, you know what that means? Hey, that hamstring in week 9, let's not push it. Yeah. History lesson next.
All right, boys and girls, take a seat and listen up as we take a trip down memory lane with Marc Daniels in this week's history lesson.
Today's history lesson takes us back 50 years, Chris, and part of the franchise history. But first, though, we start 1967. The 1967 NFL-AFL draft is the first common draft as the two leagues combine teams and players. And that first round of the draft includes Bubba Smith going to the Baltimore Colts. The Colts got the pick from New Orleans. Second pick of the draft was Clinton Jones, running back from Michigan State. Back-to-back Spartans go in the first couple of picks. In fact, how crazy is it? They had 4 of the first 8 picks of that draft, Michigan State. The third pick of that draft was Steve Spurrier with the San Francisco 49ers. Bob Greasy went 4th to the Miami Dolphins. Floyd Little, Hall of Famer, went to the Denver Broncos with the 6th overall pick. Alan Page, Vikings, 15th pick. Gene Upshaw was pick of the Oakland Raiders at 17 in that draft. Steve Spurrier's career in San Francisco was not a great one. A backup quarterback, a journeyman to John Brody, never really got a chance to play. When he thought he had an opportunity to play, Spurrier found himself getting hurt and kind of wondered about his career in the National Football League. But on April 2nd, 1976, almost 50 years ago, 50 years, a few months, or a month plus, Steve Spurrier was the first ever trade by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. As the Bucs and Seahawks were putting a roster together, Spurrier was dealt for 2 players and a second-round draft pick. The Bucs picked up Steve Spurrier thinking that the college phenom, a one-time Heisman Trophy winner, would be exciting for fans to rally around. Well, of course, that really didn't happen. Spurrier was the starting quarterback in the Bucs' first season, and the team went 0-14. John McKay, the Buccaneer coach, and one thing Steve Spurrier even jokes about, he says, every time they put worst team ever, it's his Bucs, even worse than the Lions team that went 0-16 years ago. But Spurrier still talks about the great time that he had in Tampa, briefly cut in 1977, and wondered about his future. In fact, thought about life outside of football. Here's a series of what-ifs for Steve Spurrier, Chris, okay? If in 1977, while covering the Buccaneers and realizing there was no more football to be played, Steve Spurrier thought about moving into the real estate or insurance industry, we would have lost out on something pretty cool, right? Spurrier spent the 1977 season out of football, lived in Gainesville, would go to Gator games. Doug Dickey, the Gator football coach, invited Spurrier to come be a part of his offensive staff. Wanted to change out of the wishbone offense and brought Steve Spurrier in as a quarterback and receivers coach. By the way, the Gator quarterback at the time, Chris Collinsworth. Yeah, Chris Collinsworth, the quarterback, running that option. In 1978, the Gators actually didn't put up a ton of points. The scoring output was almost the same as the year before, and guess who got fired? Dickey got fired. Spurrier wanted to be the next head coach, and even though he was well-loved in Gainesville, people didn't think he was ready to be a Gator football coach at that time. Charlie Pell came in, and Pell said, look, I'm thinking about a few people for the job, and Spurrier didn't get it. And Steve Spurrier once again wondered what was going to happen to his career, and again thought about options outside of football. Pepper Rogers had been the offensive assistant when Spurrier was quarterback in Florida. He was taking over as the coach at Georgia Tech. He gave Steve Spurrier a chance to be the quarterback coach, and by the way, like his year with Doug Dickey, it didn't get off to a good start offensively. Spurrier wasn't calling plays, but about halfway through the season, one day walked into Pepper Rogers' office and said, look, give me a chance to call plays. Rogers, with his team struggling at 1-5-1, averaging 14 points a game, said, sure, we can't be any worse. And all of a sudden, Georgia Tech's offense began to put up some points. They won a couple of football games, and even though they lost to the arch-rival Georgia Bulldogs at 16-3, there was positivity about the offense. But guess who got fired again? Pepper Rogers got let go. Spurrier asked Bill Curry, who came in as head coach, what do you think about keeping him? Curry said, I don't know, probably not. Steve Spurrier remembered that. He never lost to Bill Curry. And if you're a Gator fan, you know what happened when Bill Curry was coaching at Kentucky and Steve Spurrier was there in Gainesville, and he ran it up. And they kept passing with third and fourth string quarterbacks. But Steve Spurrier in 1980 was hired to be the offensive coordinator at Duke by Red Wilson. And Steve Spurrier was handed the keys to an offense. And Steve Spurrier got to build an offense the way he wanted to build. And air ball was created at Duke. Ben Bennett set the NCAA record for passing yards. And Duke's offense became kind of fun to watch for a football team that didn't win a whole bunch of games. Gator fans know what Duke football meant to Steve Spurrier. He would leave to become the head football coach of the Tampa Bay Bandits from 1983 to 1985. Then Duke called him back and said, Steve, I want you to come back. As the USFL moved to a fall schedule, they said, we'd like you to take over as the head football coach. Spurrier interviewed actually for the job at Mississippi State. They chose Rocky Felker. Here's another what if. What if Mississippi State hired Steve Spurrier? I hired Rocky Felker. He wasn't very good. He also applied for the job at LSU to be their head coach. What if LSU hired Steve Spurrier? They hired Mike Archer. Archer was okay. Wasn't very good. Finally, Duke said to Steve Spurrier, how about taking over the program? Which he did. And then you know what happened at Duke. And then Steve Spurrier to being coach of the year in 1988-89. In December of 89, took the head coaching job at Florida. So we're just over 50 years of a journeyman quarterback who became the first ever trade of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on April 2nd, 1976. And Steve Spurrier's 1 year of 0-14, and a guy that multiple times wondered if he should seek another profession to get out of coaching. Weren't we lucky some things ended up going the other way? Like not getting the job at Mississippi State or LSU. And then it just so happened Duke was the right place to get his offense going, and the rest, you could say, is football history. Back to wrap up the Thursday show next.
Time for the latest news, gossip, trends, and off-the-wall stories. Trends.
That's the craziest thing I ever heard.
Garrick Higo's actually got a couple of PGA wins. A South African golfer went to tee off in round one of the PGA Championship this morning. He was 1 minute late and got a 2-stroke penalty.
Wow. They don't play around.
How do you miss your tee? You have to be on the tee box. His tee time 7:18. He showed up at 7:19. He was notified as he walked up on the tee box. By the way, he's battled to get it at even par through 15, but how do you do that?
Yeah, it's when it is. You got to be there.
Wow.
Friday. You want a couple more leaks though? Real quick. Come on. We got Jags at Cowboys, week 16, Sunday night football.
Oh, okay, good one.
We got Bucks at Cowboys, week 5, Thursday night football.
Okay.
How about Bucks Bengals? That'll be week 1. Bucks open in Cincinnati. 1 o'clock kick.
There you go. Chris is going to be fired up.
That's right.
Full recap by Chris. The NFL released that 26-second feature tomorrow on the program. Miss any of today's show, go where you get your favorite podcast. Time of the Beat of Sports on Demand. Also get the video replay on our YouTube channel, 96 The Game Orlando, the logo and the live button to watch the feedback. Thanks, Chris. See you tomorrow.
See you, Mark.
Chris producer, Marc Daniels, The Beat of Sports.